Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We are coming off the first weekend of college football. This is also the first time that in spite of a federal holiday on Monday, we're still giving y'all 3 episodes. You're welcome. It's love, I promise. Anyway, a lot of college football. We got some Micah Parsons. After I had a little more time to think about Micah Parsons, had some more stuff to say. We will get to that. But I've got to tell you, if you listen to our college football preview episode with me and Spencer Hall, got to tell you guys, man, we did a lot of being right. Like, it's not really often that happens, right? I'm not so much patting myself on the back. Yes, I am. But I'm just saying, like, I don't really get to do that very much. I'll come out here and tell you when I was wrong, like I will when we talk a little bit about Micah Parsons, because I sure ain't think they was going to trade him. However, the college football stuff, we were right. But in some ways, not only were we more right than I expected us to be right, in some cases, we were righter than I wanted to be. Case in point, we were righter than I wanted to be. North Carolina got a national television game on Monday night, on Labor Day, playing at home against TCU. I am 45 years old. I don't think that there's ever been a time in my life that this many people watched a North Carolina football game on purpose. I don't think so. The only other time it could have come close to that is a game that Ryan probably remembers, which was the game that North Carolina played against LSU to start the season in 2010. You were there, right? When North Carolina didn't have any players left because of all the NCAA stuff, unless still almost found a way to lose
almost lost that game.
Almost. Yeah. Carolina dropped 3 touchdowns, I believe, at the end of that game.
TJ Yates' best performance of his career, for sure.
And also, it was the day that I realized that Patrick Peterson was something much different than anything that I think I had ever seen.
I believe that was also Tyrann Mathieu' first college football game.
It was. It was Tyrann Mathieu's first college football game. And that whole LSU season was the entirety of the Les Miles experience. That is also the season where, what's his name? Derek Dooley sent 15 people out there for that last play of the game. That is also the season where somehow, some way, Jordan Jefferson got the first of his 2 victories at starting quarterback over Nick Saban at Alabama.
Yeah.
The only guy to do that.
Just the entire less experience.
But lost to Arkansas.
Yeah, of course. I was Arkansas without Derek McFadden.
Yes.
Incredible.
Okay, a lot going on. Sorry, I'm going to get back to North Carolina. The score was 48-14 in this game. They got their asses kicked. Now, let me tell you what I think was interesting, though, about watching this. I could make the argument that this is a very encouraging outcome for Carolina fans, while also being a very terrifying outcome for what is going to happen in the course of this season. Look, I need everybody to understand how badly I wanted North Carolina to win this game. Now, as many of you know, I went to graduate school at North Carolina, and I hate Duke basketball like they did something to me personally. However, my desire to see North Carolina win this game had nothing to do with either of those things. If you listen to this show and you know me just a little bit, you know the biggest reason I wanted North Carolina to win this game. I wanted them to win this game just to spite Joel from Missouri City. That is the only reason I wanted them to win this game. I wanted to be able to talk that shit to Joel like nobody's business. I was already preparing to say that apparently TCU, they like the hostesses. They like the welcoming committee. You know what I'm saying? A new star shows up on the block and TCU show them around and make sure they have a good time, just like they did for Deion Sanders. You know what I'm saying? Like that was, I was here, like it was, I was ready for that. And if you watch that first drive that Carolina had, it looked like that was exactly what was about to happen. That little bitty quarterback was out there making throws. They was running the ball. All of that was going down. I was like, hell yeah, Joel gonna get even sicker of me than he already is. You know what I'm saying? No, he wasn't. He wasn't at all. He wasn't. Carolina had, they had everybody at that game, bro. Carolina had, see, this is one thing about Carolina, by the way. Even with football, they can go high-level star. Like when they want to shock and awe with high-level stars, they can do it on a special level, right? Michael Jordan pulled up, Roy Williams pulled up, Pep pulled up, LT pulled up. They had the clip of LT, Roy, and Michael Jordan in the box. And I'm just imagining being Roy Williams in the course of that. Because Roy know how to talk to Mike. Roy and Mike have known each other for 45 years. I don't really know like what it's like when Roy talked to LT. I don't know what it's like when anybody talks to LT. I imagine that everybody wants to get out of talking about politics. But anyway, those cats were there. Randy Moss was there in the box with the first little lady of North Carolina football. They had all that. Like it was all there. And they just watched them boys after that first drive get hammered. They just watched them boys get destroyed. I don't know who wears number 29 for North Carolina, but they're going to call that boy toast because he was just out there getting fired up. Carolina fans will probably invoke the name of a dude named Jordan Hemby when they talk about him because everybody knows that corner that gets lit on fire. No matter what team you root for, I've said this many times, and y'all going to get in these YouTube comments on this and say exactly what I'm talking about. Go ahead and put down that corner that your team had that just stayed getting his ass fired up. That was number 29 in the course of that game, man. It was just happening. They were destroyed. And here's where I come from on this. One, I saw great room for encouragement early in that game. And the reason I saw great room for encouragement early in that game was I thought that Carolina looked very well coached, especially on offense. I saw a quarterback who dropped back and kept his head up and moved pretty well in the pocket, which is pretty impressive considering he was without question the shortest man on the offense. Okay. When they ran the ball, it looked like an offensive line that was well coordinated and did the things that they needed to do, right? I had serious questions about Bill Belichick and the big brain brand of football that he coaches, how well or easily he would be able to teach those things to college players. And I think it's entirely possible that something that Belichick probably enjoys about this job is that it is more of a teaching job. Like he might be a Larry Brown type who, yeah, could coach in the pros, but what he really loves to do is get in there and teach. And now he has a better opportunity to teach. And so for me, that is very encouraging if you're a Carolina fan, that this looks like a well-coached team. Like we're going to talk about Alabama a little bit later. That looked like a poorly coached team. That's when you get terrified, right? This looked like a well-coached team. The problem is, I looked up at one of those plays in the first half, and I forget what running play TCU called. Like I'm going to be able to tell you exactly what the running play was. Let me stop pretending. Brother, them boys moved furniture. They picked that Carolina defensive line up and moved them the hell out of the way. They looked really light in the ass at the line of scrimmage on defense. And if you read the ESPN.com article about the program, you will understand. They had 70 new players, and it's amazing that they got 70 players because they were, I don't know, I was about to use an ethnically inappropriate reference to what it was like when everything got first started there at Carolina, but imagine that it was like a fire drill with no plan.
Speaking of fire drills with no plan, I just pulled up UNC's football coaching staff, and I want to read some names off for you.
Yes.
Um, Obviously, Bill Belichick, the head coach,
Yes.
Michael Lombardi, the general manager, his son, Matt Lombardi, quarterbacks coach, Freddie Kitchens is the offensive coordinator.
Yes.
Not one, but two Belichicks are on the defensive side. And also, to go back to the top of the show, Manny Miles, Wes's son, is an offensive assistant.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
On purpose?
Sounds like it.
Wow. Yeah, so Freddie Kitchens was on the staff last year. And I feel like this is probably a job that Freddie Kitchens could do, like coaching the college. Something he could probably handle and get done. but they got to get players. So I think it was David Hale and Andrea Adelson. They have a very interesting story about like the beginning of the Belichick era. And one thing that happened was these guys let their hubris get in the way. And they basically fired everybody before they showed up and were like, yeah, we need to keep things lean. But the arrogance that it took for you to do that without having any idea what college coaching is or what the whole job was or anything like that, they knew nothing about what to do. But they got like their examples in that article about recruits coming in for visits and sitting in offices for like an hour and never actually getting to meet Bill Belichick. Like they fired the people whose jobs it was to do things like book plane tickets. And so they had to go back and hire people like in the short run just because they had no idea what it was that they were doing. And it sounded like slowly they were able to get things back up to speed. But they turned over 70 spots on the roster, and it doesn't look like they turned them over and got better. Right? Don't forget this team last year, for example, had Amarion Hampton, running back, who's probably going to run for a bunch of yards this year. I think he plays for the Chargers. That guy ain't there. That quarterback, he looks very talented, but my goodness, he is a diminutive fellow. Watching them get pushed around, you realize, oh man, they don't have the guys. Maybe they'll have the guys next year. Maybe they'll figure it out. But like your general manager is a guy that doesn't know anything about college football. A lot of these guys that you got on staff, like Steve Belichick spent a year at Washington. He's the defensive coordinator, but that was a year, just a year. And I want to say this also to you, Steve Belichick. If you're so insistent about having that goddamn mullet, don't tie it up. Be that guy. Let it hang. Or get a fucking haircut. Look. I ain't gonna lie, man. The thing that makes me wonder if Bill Belichick got what it takes to coach college players is he can't even get his son to get a decent, reputable haircut. I don't know what he gonna tell these other kids. But I digress. They don't have the guys. But to get on television like that and to get embarrassed, I can't. It was the absolute opposite. Like worst case scenario for what North Carolina hopes for under those circumstances. This is a chance that they're going to have eyeballs on them like they probably will not again anytime soon. I don't know what exactly it's going to take to turn this around. Belichick in the pregame interviews was talking about how we're not close to good, but he can see that we're getting there. The problems with that team do not seem to be problems that are going to be fixed with more practice. They're going to need to get some ringers. You need to go out here and find some guys. Hey, man, it looked like you might be able to get some dudes from, I don't know, Winston-Salem State, North Carolina Central, Elon. They look like they got some guys that might be able to play for y'all. I just didn't think that it just did not look like they had the talent that is going to be necessary to compete in the ACC. Man, they might lose to Duke. Like, I don't.
They got to play Clemson in a few weeks.
They do have to play. And by the way, that was another team that didn't look like the talent was quite what people told me it was. You know,
sure,
I know you watched that game.
Yeah, I mean that was Major League to Double A compared to watching UNC get pushed around last night.
That is correct. No, don't get me wrong. You're right. You're not wrong. And let me tell you something else, Ryan. I don't know if anything gonna hurt Bill Belichick's ego more than losing a game to a coach like Dabo Swinney.
Oh yeah, it is. That is going to be he's going to learn why college football is different than pro football very quickly.
You and I have talked before. I think we were talking with Spencer about this before we recorded college football preview about the game that ended the Urban Meyer era at Florida, and it was that game against LSU where Les was going for it on
again,
fourth
2010.
down. Yes, the crazy 2010 season of LSU. They were going for it on fourth down, doing crazy stuff. Was that the one? Yeah, that was the one where the holder threw the fake field goal over the shoulder. Yeah. That's right. It bounced. It bounced backwards. The kicker picked it up. And when they asked Urban about it after the game, all he could do was wave the question off because he could not discuss the idea that meathead had in some form or fashion outcoached him. Just couldn't handle the idea. Dabo Swinney, who is an absolute Hall of Famer as a head coach and done an amazing job at Clemson, but he didn't do it with the brain, okay? That's not how he got it done. Bill Belichick is going to have to deal with guys like that beating him. The Bill Belichick who owns Mike Tomlin is going to have to deal with getting cooked by the likes of Dabo Swinney, Sonny Dykes, because that just happened. He just got it from Sonny Dykes. Like, oh boy, it's not going to be the easiest year for the man. It's not. It's not. And all I needed him to do was beat Joel in them. That's all he had to do. That's all he had to do. Instead, here I am offering congratulations to the biggest hater I know. All right, guys. So after the Micah Parsons trade, we immediately fired up the microphones, got up here, did a quick little YouTube exclusive. Check that out if you have not checked it out. And I ain't gonna lie, man, we just did that for the money. You know what I'm saying? Y'all wanted a little something right fast. I prefer to take some time to think things out a little bit. But, we went ahead and got that bread right fast and gave y'all that fix that y'all needed. And now, after having a little time to think about this, I've got thoughts in a couple of different directions, right? Thought number one, the report came out that leading into week one, Micah Parsons is going to need an epidural injection in his back because of whatever is wrong with it. And Ryan, I have to be honest, I was right there with my buddy Dominique Foxworth, where he had been talking about how his back was hurting in camp. And we all thought that it needed a very simple solution. If you just rub some money on it, it was going to get fixed. And they rubbed money on it and that didn't work.
And still needs, when people start talking about the back and start bringing out the L's and the C's, I know that it sounds real, like when they start talking about the different vertebra, that's when you know it's serious.
Hey, man, when they start talking about the C's, we got problems, right? Like, that's what it is. But apparently he needs an epidural injection, and this is a case where maybe I'm simply limited in my knowledge and my understanding of what exactly is, like, what all the different kinds of epidurals are. Because the only time we hear about an epidural is when the toughest people among us are going through the most intense pain of their lives, and that is when they need an epidural. I never hear that term come up otherwise. I don't hear that term really come up in sports otherwise, and we hear about guys going through some serious pain, and Micah Parsons needs a shot in his vertebrae in order to get back out here to play. His vertebra, bruh. Like vertebra, see what I'm saying? Anyway, he needs that shot going into this game. On top of that, just want to throw this out there. The Packers are paying him $47 million a year on this deal. Now, we had the information on this contract. I don't want to pretend like when we recorded before I didn't have the information, right? We're just a little bit more concerned with getting this out of here. What I did not properly consider or think about with this deal is the Packers absolutely blew the box on this. They 100% blew the box. The high for a non-quarterback up until that, Ryan, was what, $41 million?
Yeah, we saw TJ Watt get paid. We saw Myles Garrett get paid this offseason.
Yeah.
So right around 40, 41 million. And then Micah blows the doors off of 47 for 4 years and 136 guaranteed.
Hey, man, and look, I understand that he is younger than those other guys, but I got to be honest here. I don't think there was any circumstance under which Jerry Jones was going to pay him $47 million a year, right? Like, I think that
a lot of the reporting coming in that he was offering more years for more money, like right around 41, 42, but for 5 or 6 years. And then his agent is like, not a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's no way he was going to be hitting for 47.
No chance. None.
No chance. No chance. I don't know how many people would have done that, but it actually makes me look back on this and say, I fully believe that this became personal for the Cowboys. This became personal for Jerry. This became personal for Micah Parsons. And that's the biggest reason that the deal went the way that it ultimately did. But if Jerry had paid him $47 million, think about buddy Nick made this point. If Jerry had paid him $47 million, we'd be killing Jerry for paying him $47 million. Like, if there was a world in which Micah Parsons could get somebody to pay him $47 million, he was going to need to do whatever kicking and screaming he needed to do to get to that place that was going to pay him that $47 million. Because as much as we say the price for these things kept going up and up and up, the price did not go up to $47 million. It didn't. The Packers took that price to $47 million. So what you're telling me right now is that the Packers got a guy that they just had to give an epidural, and they are paying him something in the neighborhood of like almost 20% more than what the going rate for a player like that had been. On top of that, Albert Breer, who works for Sports Illustrated, and of note, Breer covered the Cowboys back in the day. So he is somebody that I think you can trust as being pretty well sourced around that organization. And Ryan, I had heard this also, just not in the context of the Cowboys, just in the general context of Micah Parsons. People don't so much like that dude.
Yeah.
They don't.
I mean, historically, people, yeah, I think that seemed to be in the ether.
I've heard somewhat jaw-dropping stories about reasons there are to not be particularly big fans of that gentleman, right? Now, is it a bit of a smear job, right, after he leaves? Maybe, just maybe. But what I found interesting was apparently Dak doesn't like him very much. And by the way, Dak is the quarterback, whether you Micah Parsons or not, right?
Right.
Dak don't really rock with him like that. And a big part of why the people don't rock with him is that damn podcast. Now, I need you to understand, I work for a company that produces podcasts for current athletes. Okay. I think it is ridiculous that these guys do these podcasts like the podcast that they do during the regular season. Now, I need you to understand the history of active players and coaches doing media during the season is long running, right? The coaches show on radio, for example, and a lot of these guys, like Tom Brady, did those appearances on WEEI in Boston, for example, for all of those years. This is a thing that happens, right? So I don't want to pretend like people have a tendency to act like not everything new is new, right? But what is different is these cats sit there for like an hour at a time and actually give their real live opinions.
I mean, Michael came out and said that Dak Prescott wasn't a top 5 quarterback in the NFL on his podcast.
That was insane. You never say, hey man, it's just how I feel. Who gives a fuck if it's just how you feel? What are you talking about? You don't do like it is crazy that to me that any of these guys do these shows. I just can't, for money that I can't believe is worth it, right? I personally don't get it, right? Like I'll say this for the Kelsey brothers, who do not do a show for this company.
Yeah.
I don't ever get the feeling they talk about anything that matters that much.
No, they're out there having a good time. They're not out there giving their trying to break the internet with their takes.
No, I've never. The only time I've seen them do it is when they acted like when they asked what position in the NFL was the hardest to play, and Jason Kelsey said it was defensive back because it was so hard they don't even let white guys try to do it anymore. That's the greatest moment in the history of that podcast, as far as I am concerned. But no, man, you can't. It blows my mind that he or anybody else does one of these shows. Now, to tie this back to what the original point is, all I'm saying in sum total is I got a little bit of a better idea how it is in the end this dude wound up going somewhere else. Now, typically, a guy as good as he is, man, you find a way and you make it work. And I think we all understand that, right? As good as Parsons is, you typically put up with whatever. But money-wise, at what point was it that you were going to stop? And I think that no matter what had happened, that point was going to be somewhere before $47 million, right? I don't like the Packers are paying a gigantic price for this, and they just had to stick a needle deep into dude's back. Like this trade doesn't look, it was so shocking and stunning when it first happened, but it doesn't look nearly as crazy to me right now as it did at the time. Like the Luka trade for me is interesting because it looks crazier for me as time goes on than it did at the time, even if I halfway understand why they did it. This one dies down for me. Like it doesn't look nearly as bonkers when you put everything together in sum total. Now, of course, if the Green Bay Packers win the Super Bowl, which is entirely possible, then, this is what it's going to be. Now, of course, they have to play against America's team in week 1. And those of us, #OnePride, like we expect the Packers to get an understanding of how difficult this is going to be for them, even if they have Micah Parsons on the team. But let's watch and see how all of this goes for everybody, right? It's going to make the noise around the Cowboys much louder, but let's also see what the noise around Micah Parsons is now that he's up there, now that he's making all of that money. And by the way, now that he's playing for a team that doesn't believe that all publicity is good publicity in the way that his last team did. Yeah, this NFL season gonna be messy, Ryan.
Yeah, it's coming at the exact right time. But I mean, Mike getting traded a week before the season. I mean, I was excited already, but Mike getting is what content dreams are made of, if you will.
Nothing will be crazier than if the Cowboys somehow beat the Eagles on Thursday night, and then the Lions come out there and beat the Packers by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that will fuel the take engine for sure.
That would be great for business. And speaking of business, Ryan, you got any DraftKings information for us?
I sure do. NFL fans, week one is your shot to play free and stack $1 million cash bag with DraftKings Pick Six, an official partner of the NFL. You can download the DraftKings Pick Six app, DraftKings' easiest way to play fantasy. Speaking of this Eagles Cowboys game, I like Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown in that. I think the Cowboys' run defense, even with Kenny Clark there, is going to struggle. And I like CeeDee Lamb to score a touchdown because they're going to have to throw the ball a lot for them to have any chance. You can download the DraftKings Pick Six app, use code Bomani, opt in for free, and start stacking entries for NFL Week 1. Zero cost, huge upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus, age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. Must claim token for free entry in Bag Builder contest. Only perfect entries earn share of cash prize. Tokens are single use and expire September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos. All right, Bo, let's get to the stories that happened this weekend. Alabama lost big 31-17 to Florida State. As Spencer Hall and you guys talked about before the season, you guys mentioned the possibility that this could get ugly in Alabama, and it looks like it's already starting to.
The heat is on. It's on the streets. Look, it's one thing that the heat is on. It's another thing that it's week one and it looked like the heat was on. Like you looked at Kalen Debeor on the sideline and that stress was getting him. Now, I have been talking about this for years. Some of you have been hearing me. It's really me talking to those of you who, quite honestly, if you're under 35 at this point, like you could be a real live full-on adult and you just don't understand what we've been trying to tell you, which is this is one of the worst jobs in the country to have. There are two kinds of people who work the job at Alabama: legends and dudes that get run out of town. There really isn't any in between. Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, both of who got out just ahead of the cavalry, right? Like if Nick Saban was about to have, they went 10-2, I think, his last year. If he had gone through and had a 9-3,
losing in the Rose Bowl to Michigan.
Yeah, but if they had a 9-3 last year with Nick Saban, it has sounded just about the same. There is no equity. There is no goodwill. Win forever. That is what you've got here, all right? And so Debeor, who it's a job you have to take, right? You get offered that job, you take it. But he went from working one of the most underrated jobs in America, which is the job at Washington, which is a job where we've seen a lot of coaches win a lot of games at Washington. We saw Don James do it. I mean, we saw Jim Lambright do it after him. We saw Rick Neuheisel do it. We saw Kalen DeBoer do it, right?
Chris Peterson.
Yeah, Chris Peterson, right. We've seen a lot of guys win a lot of games there because you have access to a lot of talent, because Washington is the one city job that is it's the one city school that is not a city school. right? They are in Seattle in a real live city, but it still feels like you're going to college, right? Like there's a difference between Washington and, say, the University of Houston, the University of Memphis, even Georgia Tech, which has the academic restrictions, even Miami, where you're like, oh man, we're competing for attention in this city. That's not how it works there at Washington, right? They got a 70,000 seat stadium that they fill up. That's beautiful. All of these things. And he went down here to this place, the only school that expects a national championship every year. That's where you went. And we're seeing it, man. We are seeing it. We're hearing the rumblings come out that the discipline level with the players ain't quite what it needs to be. They just lost.
And honestly, they look soft. They looked soft.
They look soft. They just lost to a team that went 2-10 last year. They had to go get not just the quarterback from Boston College, a quarterback that got benched at Boston College. And he stood up in the offseason and said, Nick Saban can't save y'all. I don't see how they gonna stop me. And neither did we. We did not see them stop him. Hey, guys. This has the potential to get a lot worse, and they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
That to me about Debeor is shocking. I don't know how you wound up, especially in this day and age where you just got to go spend the money and get a quarterback. I don't see how you ended up with
his
this
old
guy.
OC. He brought back Grubb. These guys are, have been together forever. And, Alabama's a game where you don't get, like, talk about goodwill. They beat Georgia last year, but you don't get the goodwill from beating Georgia when you lose to Vandy and you lose to Oklahoma and you lose to Florida State, who you were favored by 14 points.
Yes. Hey, let's look this up. All right. We got this stat. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but it's been around. This is from Brett McMurphy. When favored by more than 14 points, Nick Saban was 131-2. Kalen Debeor is 4-4. Hey, let me tell you this right now. He's not going to get fired, okay? It'll cost $70 million to get him out of there per the buyout, right? He's basically like a tenured professor. And if you've listened to this show, you've heard me talk about what they do to tenured professors. They figure out how to make them quit. And what Alabama will be hoping for, in all likelihood, at the end of this season, is that someone offers that man a job. Someone a little closer to home from him looks around and says, well, how'd you like to come here? And he jumps on the first thing smoking. Because of those post-Bryant, pre-Saban coaches, Ray Perkins was not fired. He quit. Bill Curry was basically fired, but officially he quit after going 10-2, by the way. Okay? Dennis Franchione quit. Got out of there on the first thing smoking. They ran Gene Stallings out of that job. I'm just telling you, Alabama does not typically have to fire these guys. Like many of these jobs, Ryan Day at Ohio State, for example, people are like, oh, it's a hot seat for Ryan Day. No. It's not a hot seat in the sense that they're going to toss him out of it. It's a hot seat in the sense that it's going to be very inconvenient for him if he loses to Michigan again, but they're not going to fire him from that. They don't do that. Alabama's the job where they get you out of here for this stuff. Right?
Yeah,
but again,
don't make your life miserable.
Right. Even then, not firing. It's just going to be really, really miserable for him if he don't get it turned around real fast. Real fast. Also, shout out to Gus Malzahn, who is a man of many splendors and many quirks and many charms. And his most amazing trick is he can beat Alabama. There will be a day where Auburn looks back and was like, but he would beat Alabama once every 3 or 4 years.
And that's good enough for us.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be. It certainly should be.
It should be. What more can they ask? Look, I don't know how honest you are with yourself about LSU, right? But the truth is, but LSU is a consistent 9.5 win program that occasionally can win a national championship. But if you look at it year after year, and this even applies to the Saban years, you're by and large going to lose 3 games a year. It's about how it goes. Auburn is a very similar, 8.5, 9-win program. It's about the same. But every now and then, everything can line up right, and you're playing for a national championship with Nick Marshall. But if you beat Alabama every 3 years or so, everybody's going to be happy. Just throwing it out there.
All right, sticking in college football and people struggling. Arch Manning made, his starting debut, national debut for a lot of people against Ohio State. Did not go well. 17 to 30, 170 yards passing, one touchdown, one interception as Texas lost to Ohio State 14 to 7. Uh, Tough for Arch in front of a big audience.
It's tough for Arch, and to a degree, the surrounding hype has been wildly unfair, right? And again, I don't understand this because he's not even Peyton's. First of all, there was Archie Manning and there was Peyton Manning. That other boy should not even be involved in this conversation, and that other boy ain't even this boy's daddy. You see what I'm saying? You understand where I'm coming from here? Like, we're doing this to the young man, and he, from what I see, he has picture perfect mechanics. He is very, very athletic. He doesn't seem to be that good yet, right? Like, he is a 5-star recruit. I will say that. Like, you look at him, this is not the greatest quarterback we have seen since blank. This isn't even truly the most hyped quarterback we've seen since Jameis Winston and Johnny Manziel won Heisman trophies as freshmen. You're telling me that there was more hype around Arch Manning than there was about those guys coming back? Right? You understand what I'm saying? Like that doesn't.
Yeah.
You're telling me there was more hype around them than Caleb Williams coming back after winning the Heisman
Or
Trophy?
Caleb Williams going from Oklahoma to USC at first.
Yeah. Come on, you're not selling me on this. And so we built this up, and it winds up being like a pile on to the kid after the fact. When it seems that he and his granddaddy are the most reasonable people around this. Remember, when his granddaddy said he's coming back? He'll be back in 2026, and Arch is like, oh, I don't know where he got that from. I know where he got that from. He know you ain't that good yet. He knows you need the time, and he is going to need the time. And look, somewhat encouraging for Texas, I would say, because I think that'll probably be the worst game that Arch plays this year, and they only gave up 14 points on the road. Like, I mean, this if you're Ryan Day, this is not encouraging for your
No, they
get them
had
off
one of
my
the least explosive offenses in all of SBS in week one. They
yes,
were like in the 130s.
yeah, this ain't getting nobody off your back, right? This is not going to do that. But this is what's encouraging to me for North Carolina is that Matt Patricia, who never really demonstrated himself to be a great NFL defensive coordinator, and he's still doing that thing where he got a pencil behind his ear, but the play sheet is laminated. Shout out to my guy Stu Gotts for pointing that out. Because if anybody knows, if anybody can I spot some bullshit like that, it is absolutely Stu Gotts, right? So this dude
Game recognized game.
Game recognized game. That's it. What you doing with that pencil, homie? All you gonna do is stab yourself by accident. That's all. But he was able to impart whatever his scheme is to these college players, and you saw what he could do if you got the bodies. Right? If you've got the players, now you can make this happen. So when Belichick gets the players, if Belichick gets the players, then maybe you can see the scheme get implemented, right? But for Ohio State, again, they're going to need to figure out how to score some more points. And just a heads up, did you see Bryce Underwood for Michigan?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
former LSU commit. Yeah, I saw the highlights of Bryce Underwood.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
My man, Big George Foster, he put a couple clips up on the internet of Underwood because I hadn't seen him, and I was like, oh my goodness, that right there is going to be a problem for 3 years.
You know who another one of those who had some
everybody.
highlights? You know who on Sunday they played Sunday afternoon, so I don't know if a lot of people saw it. But Sellers,
Yeah.
oh man.
Sellers looks like an old school, excellent college quarterback. I don't know how good he's going to be in the NFL, but he looks really big, really strong, fast enough, and plays in South Carolina.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of fun because they also have a big, fast wide receiver. I think his name is Nick Haber,
Yes.
who looks like a track star out there. So they're going to do a lot of chucking it deep and watch Sellers do something, and that's going to be fun. But the real thing that shocked me with Arch, bringing it back to that, is it's not that he looked rattled and he missed easy throws, like throws you can spot from your couch, like wide open. Like it didn't take a expert to explain how he struggled, and I think that was almost harder.
I agree with you, but the thing I would say for him, it was a point that I tried to make about Caitlin Clark last year, and it's going to be really germane to her next year, as this year has been injury filled and all of this. Stop trying to give it to these people before they actually do anything, right? Like you can acknowledge they're a big deal, you can acknowledge the level of interest around them, but the truth is, where this gets to be interesting and what makes you truly love and respect these figures is what they do when it gets hard, right? And like maybe some of you don't remember Peyton Manning's time at Tennessee, where he lost to Florida 4 years in a row. Went to the Orange Bowl his senior year against Nebraska and got their doors blown off. It ain't always easy, man. Like there are things to overcome. There are things that you got to push through, and it will be more gratifying as a viewing experience and for you as fans if you watch Arch go through the struggle to then get to the other side. And right now, it's the struggle part. So let's see how he responds to that struggle, because that's going to be the real test of whether he is what you say he is, not how easy it looked in week one.
All right, we're moving on as summer winds down. We're reacting to an article from Heat Map News about how electricity got so expensive. Over the past few years, electricity prices in the U.S. have risen sharply, surpassing inflation by a wide margin. While it can be political to blame renewable energy, but the real driver of this is the infrastructure itself. Utilities are more expensive because the poles are more expensive, the wires are more expensive, construction's more expensive, the transformers are more expensive. And what has happened to that is uh, electricity has gotten way more expensive for the rest of America.
Brother, I got an electric bill the other day that I couldn't believe. Like, I don't even want to say the number out here in front of these people. I'm going to send you the number right now on text, Ryan, and you can answer this with your face. I don't even think I needed to tell you. You know, you've been to my house. Yeah, you just saw it, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, I don't know what I need to do. Like, I had to start doing all kind of stuff. Like, I was like, okay, well, maybe 78 degrees isn't that hot in your house after all. Like, these were the things we had to change.
I mean, it looks like fall is coming faster for the rest of America. Like, I mean, it was seasonably cooler all over the United States, and I think that is
Yes.
going to be a relief for lots of people. Speaking of homes, we're reacting to a Wall Street Journal article um, talking about a new trend for prospective home buyers. They're requesting to stay overnight or rent properties in the short term before committing to a purchase. For example, people, buying a eight-figure home have offered to do a 2-month stay with fully furnished accommodations. This is trend of gaining traction in high-end markets like the Hollywood Hills, the Hudson Valley, Florida, and Texas. Essentially, people have started to test drive cars or test drive homes like they are test driving cars, Bo.
Yo, I have to say, I understand why it is that this had not happened before, but this is something that should have happened before. Right? Like
Right.
I think this happens to people fairly often, and it has certainly happened to me, where when you walk through a house and go through all that stuff, there's no way you can tell like what all the things are. Right?
Right.
And it is amazing how little something can be that can make a house borderline unlivable. Right? So, like for example, I live in a place right now that I enjoy a luxurious bubble bath. Right? I like to just kind of lay around and think about my day or whatever it is. But the bathtub is so narrow on the sides; it's like yay big, where you ain't got nowhere to hold the soap. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like so.
that's really annoying.
Yes, it's incredibly annoying. I don't get to use the bathtub anymore, right?
Didn't sound like you
The
could get like a TV stand for your bathtub.
right, right, and then it's like it's a giant tub, and so the faucet that pours water in it is too small, so it takes like forever in order to fill it up. Like it's all kind of futuristic stuff going on with it, but it's all these little things that if I had test driven the place, I probably would still live here. But if I had test driven the place, I'd have been like, oh, these are things that we kind of sort of need to think about. And so if you're going to be paying these prices at the interest rates, I'm a little surprised that there's enough interest in it that the sellers now have to go along with it.
Right.
You know,
Right. I mean,
because what do you do? I mean, because we're not about to move. You're not about to move your furniture. Like You know what I'm saying? Like, are we switching out the furniture in the course of this?
Yeah, it's I think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting how these corporations just always finds ways of making more money, and this is just an easier way of. I mean, 'cause they're getting some cut of this as well. It's
Yes.
just a fascinating way of like figuring. We could sell it, but we could also get commission for renting it before we sell it too.
Yep. But I see the vision. I do
Yeah,
indeed.
absolutely. And finally, we're going to the U.S. Open. This story went viral. After an upset win, a Polish tennis player tried to gift his signed hat to a young fan, but it was very quickly snatched by an adult. Later identified online as a Polish CEO, quickly tucked it into his bag. Internet sleuths found his identity and review bombed his company. So that's what happens when you steal autographs from kids.
My look, you knew he was giving it to the kid,
Of
right?
course.
Okay. Now I admit the whole thing of like if a foul ball comes in the crowd and you get it and a kid wants it, you should give it to the kid. Do not agree. Do not agree at all. That's a once in a
Do
lifetime
you do
situation,
you
man.
do you kind of think of that as like not letting kids win in board games? Like if you
Yes,
want to get the
exactly
foul
it.
ball,
That's
you gotta
exactly
win.
it. That's
You got
exactly
you,
it.
you have to earn it.
Sometimes life isn't fair. Now, do I think that you should cut in front of the kid to catch it? Probably not, right? Do I think you should do that with a t-shirt? Probably not. But the foul ball, it's a little different, right? So I'm just saying that to say that I'm not a sucker for kids in this way. But you knew that was not intended for you. And on top of that, I don't really know how things go down in Poland, but I would imagine in America you can get your ass kicked for that, right?
Oh,
Like yo,
absolutely.
like somebody's pops is there, and this is what it is. Nah, man, we gotta scrap it out.
And also, if you're running any company, you have to know that, and you're at a very publicly televised event, you have to assume that you could possibly end up on camera.
Yes,
And so, if you're going to, it's like the couple we talked about the Coldplay concert over the
yes,
summer. Like if you're going to be in a place where there are a lot of cameras, you have to adjust your poor behavior accordingly, or at least try
and
to.
and brother, you a Polish CEO? You telling me you can't get in a room with this Polish player some other chance
Yeah,
and make this
how many tennis
happen?
stars are there in Poland?
Come on, but counterpoint also, by the way, just so we're clear, and this is the thing I think about often with these different things that these kids get. If that kid is sitting close enough to the court to get this hat, he'd be all right. He be getting lots of stuff. Just throwing it out there. I bet his bedroom more tricked out than mine. But the dude was still wrong.
All right, Bo, we're trying out the new voicemail line. Just kind of asking for general questions, prompts from the audience. We got a few good ones. Here's the first.
Hey, Bo. This is Jake from the greater Southern California area. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on what's going on in academia right now. I know both your parents are academics. You've obviously spent a lot of time in and around higher education, and, you're clearly passionate about education and, that it matters. My wife's a PhD. She's a lecturer. The vibes obviously now are not great. But obviously there's a lot of the political stuff going on, and, who knows how that's all going to shake out over the next several years. But it also just kind of feels like we've lost our way when it comes to, I don't know, an appreciation and interest in education. I mean, maybe even knowledge in general, but obviously like the structure of education is something that we do not value. It seems like we used to. So I guess the question is there anything that we can do about this? I'm just curious if this is something that you've thought about or that you and your folks talk about, all that good stuff. Thank you, sir. Keep up the great work. Take care.
All right, I appreciate that. For years I've thought about it from the bottom up, and yes, our appreciation for education in this society became strictly as you need education to serve the economy, which was not always what this was about. Right. And it was not always the intention of the people going into school. But then from there, it really came to we're just doing things that serve the economy. And when you look at like the majors that get eliminated and all of this stuff, it is for those reasons. I think it's University, I think it's Indiana University, I believe it's called, not University of Indiana. But I think it was at Indiana where you look at the majors that they were getting rid of. And it's just like, oh my goodness, you're turning a tier one research institution into a trade school, basically. Right. But the real concern for higher education right now, it's not about our attitudes for education. It's not your kids and their reliance on AI and nobody explaining to them that it's not just about getting a grade. You actually need to learn something, so forth and so on. The issue is not those things. The issue is not from the bottom up anymore. It is from the top down and the clear and obvious intention to destroy the institution of higher education. And there were people who called this before it started happening with the Harvard lawsuit, the Columbia lawsuit, all this stuff coming down from the Trump administration. But what is happening is that the very idea of higher education is being destroyed. The places that provide it are being weakened terribly in a way that you can look up historically what types of societies do this and what the end game is when this happens. You don't need me to tell you what it is. You can go look up who it is that's done this, when, why, and what the end results have been. And it is absolutely terrifying. So it has gone away from me being afraid of how stupid your kids are to me being much more afraid to how stupid the people are that are above the people who would love to try to teach your stupid kids. Nope, nope, nope. It's going to be worse than your kids being stupid. It's going to be your kids literally having no shot.
All right, let's get to a little one that's a little bit more fun.
Yes.
Bomani, Mike from Pittsburgh. I was thinking about David Bowie and how if you have any three combinations of his albums in your top and how many different combinations there could be to still make a respectable argument. I was wondering if he's singular in that or if there's any other artists that come to mind. Thanks. Love the show.
All right, I appreciate it. So Ryan, just to make sure I understand what he is saying, he is raising the question about, like, is there anybody that you could put more combinations of their top three records and
Yes.
plausibly say that?
Like someone who has 10 albums, you can make the case that three are the best. I think it's a gap over. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't think there's anybody else that you could do that many for, right? So, for example, with Prince, the top three Prince albums to me, for most of whoever you happen to be, is going to be some combination of four records. Dirty Mind, 1999, Purple Rain, and Sign of the Times. It's going to be some combination of those four. The Marley catalog is interesting because you can kind of bounce around with how you do it, but it's more the consistency of the catalog than like the specific outright highs. Bowie, and I had to pull up the list just to be able to do it. Hunky Dory, Ziggy Stardust, Low, Lodger, Heroes, Let's Dance, and then depending on how you feel about like Young Americans, I don't love that, or Station to Station, I forgot. I just gave you 7. And I think that you can reorder those 3. I mean, take the top 3 out of those, any order you want to, and you're coming out pretty damn strong. I think most of us, the way we think of the Led Zeppelin catalog, you can't really do it like that. Now, when you get to like Miles Davis, that's when we start talking about something completely different, where anything feels possible when you go over there. But now that you say that, and the more that I think about it, even Stevie Wonder is on this, right?
That was what I was about to ask. It's like I was trying to get you into a Stevie conversation.
So the thing to me about Stevie that I think is underrated is that everybody likes to talk about how cool they are. And so they start picking up the post-Motown assembly line records. And so they leave out, For Once in My Life, they leave out Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. I feel like there's one more of those that they then leave out, right? But they skip to go straight to Where I'm Coming From, Music of My Mind, Talking Book, Intervisions, Feelings for First Finale, Songs in the Key of Life, Hotter Than July, if you want to get there. We're talking like 6, 7, 8, just unreal. I can't believe one person is capable of doing that. So to me, yeah, it's those two guys. Like the 1970s gave us David Bowie, Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley, Curtis Mayfield, maybe the best part of the Rolling Stones catalog, Zeppelin, if that's like really like your bag and what you want to get into. and this is me going off the top of my head. You get like other bands like the Isley Brothers got 3 or 4 unreal ones in that time period. The OJs got a crazy run of unreal stuff that comes in that time period. And we could go more and more. Nothing is beating the 70s. Nothing.
All right, here's the last one for new listeners of the show.
Hey, Bo, happy Labor Day. So, I've been a listener since the Right Time radio show with Shannon, and you say it a lot, but can I get a clear definition of a herb? Like, I'm pretty good with context, but I kind of get what it is. But since we're doing this, can you give me and the rest of the people a clear definition of a herb, please? Appreciate it, Bo. Later.
It's always tricky because, as I say, I've never met a herb named Herb, right? Like we just throw this name Herb out, but every herb I know, I guess maybe they all understood they had to overcome, what was before them in order to make it happen. Can I give you like a clear definition of a herb? It's kind of one of those, a herb when you see a herb. But
I know there's a ruling from the Supreme Court. It's either indecency or pornography.
Right.
I cannot define it, but I know it when I see it.
I know it when I see it. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Russell Wilson used to be a herb, but not anymore. Old Russell Wilson, that was a herb. New Russell Wilson, not so much. By the way, Ryan, have you noticed the most interesting thing that has ever happened that I can think of? Russell Wilson has become Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce has become Russell Wilson. Did you notice that?
Who had that on their bingo cards 10 years ago?
I feel like I saw a picture of Travis Kelce in a Hawaiian shirt, and I was like, oh, man, the switch is complete. Like, you look at Russell Wilson in the clothes that Sierra picked out for him.
Like, we just need Travis Kelce to say things are all things are possible of God if they win another Super Bowl. The full body switch will have been complete.
All I'm saying is, if it was 10 years ago and I asked you which one of them is going to marry Sierra and which one of them is going to marry Taylor Swift, which direction would you have gone in? So all love, by the way, to all parties involved, right? They all cool.
Everyone seems happy. Everyone seems happy.
Everyone seems happy. Everyone seems happy. But it is, when you think about it,
and successful.
It's a bit of a switcheroo.
Switcheroo.
It happened. It happened. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week. Ryan Brumley handling everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.